Okay, welcome to the video introducing concept 4, fractions, decimals, and percents. Now, this you may have seen in grade 7. However, if it seems new or you don't really remember much, it's okay. We're going to spend a whole section together in Math 8 reviewing it and working on it. So, do the best you can, but I'm here to give you a little bit of a refresher. Now, one of the biggest concepts within concept 4 is changing fractions, decimals and percents between one another. So let's say, for example, I have the fraction 1/2. Right? Now, to figure out what that is as a decimal, right, it's the same as saying 0.5 or 0.50. So what you would do in your calculator, if that didn't come to you from previous knowledge, you'd go 1 divided by 2, right, and hit your equals button, right? So the top divided by the bottom gives you the answer as a decimal, right? Now, to get from decimals to percents, percent means part of 100. So you're always going to multiply by 100. So 0.50 times 100 ends up being 50%. Okay? So sometimes you are given not the fraction first, but perhaps the decimal. So say, for example, you're given the decimal 0.30. Okay, so same thing, right? To get to a percent, multiply by 100 ends up being 30%. I think it's easier to go percent to fraction. Some people like to go decimal to fraction. Doesn't matter, whatever you like to do. Let's do the percent to fraction one first, however. So because percent means out of 100, 30% is the same as saying 30 out of 100. Now, fractions always need to be in lowest terms. This probably isn't new news to you. So common multiple between 30 and 100 is 10, ends up being 3/10. Now, another way you could get that, if you remember, you've got your ones column, your tenths column, your hundredths column. So 0.3 is the same as saying 3/10. Right? So another way to think of it that way. All right, last example, let's say you're given the percentage first. So let's say something's 25%. Now, if I want to go to the fraction, I multiply it by 100 to get decimal to percent. To go percent to decimal, you divide by 100. So in this case, it ends up being 0.25. And again, to go from a percent to a fraction, it's the same as 25 over 100, or in those terms, 1 over 4. Or perhaps, right, you decide that, hey, this is the tenths column, the hundredths column. So 25 hundredths looks like this, and 1 over 4. Okay, so everything in this section kind of is based around moving between those. You'll have questions that ask you to rank which one is smaller, perhaps, right? So they might ask you which is the smaller value. It's hard to tell when they're in three different forms. So you have to make them all the same, whether it's all percents, all decimals, or all fractions. So in this case, I'm going to make them all percents. This would be 25%. This one's already in 30%, right? And this is 50%, right? So we've kind of went through that, how to do that in the previous question. The smallest one here, right, is the 25. The last type of thing that you'll be asked to do in this review section is to figure out percent of a number. So this is one of the things that a lot of people, this is new for them for grade 8. So we'll introduce it once here, but like I said, we'll spend more time on it later. But I want to figure out what 25% of 13 is. Okay, so I want to know what a quarter of 13. Now, it's easy if you're finding out what 25% of maybe like 100 is, but when the numbers is something like 13, it's a little bit more challenging. So to solve this, step number 1 is you change the percent to a decimal, right? So in this case, right, I'm going to divide by 100. So 25% is the same as 0.25. Next step is you take that decimal and multiply it by the 13. right? So sometimes people just want to go ahead and go 25 times 13, but again, it needs to be the 0.25 times 13. So I'm going to use my calculator here. 0.25 times 13 ends up being 3.25. So 25% of 13 is 3.25. Okay, give it a go. If you have any questions, bring them to class and we'll discuss them next day.